if we were to go through the tribulation as believers, could God keep us from his wrath and judgment as he did Noah? Jesus is our ark and our covering. What do you say about this? Does the Bible say anything about this?
Well, obviously, God can't keep us from wrath and judgment because he's not all-powerful.
False.
False. God can do anything he wants to. I'm just joking around. He can do anything that he wants to. But one of the things that you have when you go through the book of Revelation is you have these descriptions of what people are being delivered from when they die in the book of Revelation. And so, and again, when I'm looking at the book of Revelation, I'm looking at it as a description of the last 7 years before the return of Christ, specifically what Jesus calls the Great Tribulation. It includes the rise of the Antichrist. In Revelation 6, you basically have an overview of the tribulation period, I believe. It includes the rise of the Antichrist. It includes what he rises through, the warfare. It includes the persecution that believers go through, and it includes the second coming. When you get to chapter 8, there is a description of 144,000 Jews who are young men who are sealed by God, and it looks like they're used in the area of evangelism. And in the second part of chapter 7, you have a description of a group of Gentiles who are coming into heaven. And the reason they're coming into heaven is because they're dying. When you look at chapter 7, in verse 13, it says, one of the elders answered, saying to me, who are these arrayed in white robes? And this is this description of these people. And where did they come from? And John says to him, sir, you know. So he said to me, these are the ones who come out of the Great Tribulation. And that the phrase there, come out, is in the present tense. It literally means they're coming and they're still arriving from the Great Tribulation. And it says, and they washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore, they're before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And then when you get to verse 16, it says, they shall neither hunger anymore, which lets you know that they were hungry, nor thirst anymore, which lets you know that they were thirsty. The sun shall not strike them, nor any heat. And so that's a phrasing that can just be kind of general, because I get hungry. And so when it comes around to dinner time, I get hungry. And if I haven't eaten or drank anything for a number of hours, I get thirsty. And so is that what God's talking about in this passage? When I go outside, the sun strikes me. And so is that something that I don't like? I just spent a couple of weeks in Hawaii. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Right? This looks like it's a reference to judgments that are taking place during the tribulation period. And so there are famines that are taking place because of the destruction of the vegetation on the planet. There's warfare that's taking place that would destroy agriculture. And so the book of Revelation talks about famines. Jesus also talks about that when he's talking about the same period in Matthew chapter 24. Thirst, the third, that includes the third seal, the third trumpet, the third bowl. There are judgments on the waters of the earth. And so when you get to the third bowl judgment, the fresh water has been polluted. And then when you're talking about the sun shall not strike them anymore, that's the fourth bowl judgment, and that's where the sun is burning people. And so, we're talking about global warming right now. We don't have global warming. Global warming is coming, though, and it's where the sun strikes people. And so it looks like when you're talking about the judgments that take place during the tribulation period, they're worldwide. And so they're going to affect everybody, including believers there. And this is one of the passages among a number of them that speak to the fact that the people in the tribulation period aren't specifically excluded from worldwide events. And that just makes sense anyway. The Lord protects us. Lord watches out for us, and he takes care of us. And that doesn't mean that believers don't die of thirst or hunger, even now. And so, again, you wouldn't necessarily have that same thing there. One of the things that you got to get a handle on when you're going through your Bible and looking especially about at those who have been delivered in certain instances from the effects of the judgment of God. You have, for example, Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Well, they get deported to Babylon, but there's a bunch of other believers who get deported to Babylon too. These guys were in the nobility, and so they got deported to Babylon in a certain area. The other people got deported to Babylon, and they were in refugee camps. And so Ezekiel speaks about those guys. There were people who, obviously, when the Babylonians came in, they destroyed the villages in Judea when they came in. And so you would have believers dying in those instances too. And in fact, the Bible talks about that. There are passages that talk about the fact that the Babylonians killed children, of all things. And I was just reading a psalm the other day that talks about the fact that their children should have their heads bashed against a wall, which lets you know that Israeli children, that's what happened to them. Mm-hmm. And so again, the fact that God delivers at times doesn't mean that he delivers everybody. And obviously, if a child dies during a situation like that, they're ultimately delivered. They're in heaven. And you see the same thing in Revelation 7. These people show up in heaven. They're clothed with white robes, and they have palm branches in their hands, and they're having a really great time. But they did go through suffering while they were on the planet. And you specifically have martyrdom during the tribulation period. So, yes, God can deliver anybody from anything that he wants to. The question is whether or not he's going to. And there are indications in Revelation that that's not the case.
So don't wait.
Yeah. Don't want to be waiting for that.